Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for coming to our ArcGIS Marketplace session, Becoming a Marketplace Provider. I'm Alan Cassidy, my colleague Douglas Cochran over there. We're from the ArcGIS product management team, and we work with a broader team at Esri to outline a strategy for the marketplace. So today we'll cover what is the vision for the ArcGIS Marketplace, what is it, what are the things we're putting into it to make it more valuable for our users and partners. In particular, we'll talk about the opportunity for what we call providers. So providers in our world means our Esri startups, our Esri partners, our Esri distributors, and even some of our nonprofits and other organizations that want to take advantage of the opportunity of what we then call them a marketplace provider. So you'll hear that term a lot today. We'll dive into the benefits of what it means, the benefits you receive when becoming a provider, the types of offerings that providers are able to list, and we'll pause there for I think spend the majority of the talking about it and answering any of your questions. We have a smaller group today, so we can make this very interactive, talking into some of the details around the different types of listings, products that providers can sell on the marketplace, and then we'll dive into just kind of process, program details, how to get started, and then and go from there. So cool. So the ArcGIS Marketplace, our vision for it is really a destination, a well-integrated destination for all ArcGIS users around the world to be able to easily discover, search, discover, buy, try, and discover your various offerings that focus on a various, capability for ArcGIS or various industries for ArcGIS. So really for us, it's about increasing the value for our users, helping them know and be able to easily find and access your solutions. And then on the other side, increasing the benefits and making it a more valuable business opportunity for what we call marketplace providers. So let's look at some of these examples. So we'll talk about the opportunity for provider. We'll get into a little bit of, what is the potential market, some of the web analytic information we have, highlight some of the amount of users around the world that your listings in the marketplace are going to be in front of, and then show a bit about how some providers are being successful, what they're doing in the marketplace, some of our existing providers. So if we look at some of the general sort of web analytics, so how many eyes are on the marketplace, what are people doing when they get there, and we can kind of begin to get a sense of the amount of opportunity that we have here. Esri.com, all of our websites get approximately 34,000 unique visitors every day. And if we break that down when they're going to, let's say, the marketplace or coming in through a product page or an industry page and learning about a partner solution and ending up on the marketplace, you see some stats here that we've factored or made available, looking at, say, the last 6 months. So you see the amount of unique visitors to the marketplace. You can see the percent increase that we're seeing over the last 6 months. You see a lot of the visits, or slightly over the majority, 57% of the visits are from outside the US. And you'll see on some of the visualizations I have that, it's definitely a global opportunity. We use the theme, oftentimes the name of this session is Expand Your Reach with the ArcGIS Marketplace, and it's truly that. You can take, and we have many providers selling their apps, content, and capabilities all over the world. And a couple other kind of stats there. You can see the kind of average visits. We're featuring things now. You can see some details on what users are commonly searching for and where they're kind of coming into the marketplace today. And then this picture is really the last 6 months representing, and then overall trends. If you were at the Esri Partner Plenary or have sort of been following Esri social media, you've seen, you hopefully noticed a dramatic uptick in us, Esri, marketing your listings. And so these numbers over the next 6 months are going to be dramatically different because Esri has resourced, a broader team to support the marketplace, in particular marketing efforts, which we are myself and Doug are very excited about, and I think it just sweetens the opportunity for providers more broadly. So let's look at some provider success stories. You might be familiar with some of these what we call providers. So the first one I'll cover is Mapillary. So Mapillary, a startup who's headquartered in Sweden here, you can see in this visualization. It's highlighting where they're reaching, where users are buying and trying their applications in the marketplace. You can see they've got multiple offerings now, received hundreds of trial requests. They're expanding these opportunities to be larger sales. And they've just enjoyed an increased brand awareness as part of being a marketplace provider. Another one is one of our content providers. So this is Nearmap. They frequently fly common areas, and they have high resolution, very premium quality imagery content, 3D content as well. Based out of Australia as well as the US. So these days they have multiple offerings. They've used the marketplace to kind of hone their offerings and better align with Esri industry teams. And they're looking to add more different types of content as well. And you can see some of their reach, where they're selling, where people are sort of getting interested and trying out their content services that they've got in the marketplace today. Another marketplace provider that you might have heard a lot about is GeoJob. They've sort of went all in on the marketplace many years ago and have had multiple listings, paid and free listings in the marketplace. Certainly the expand your reach, they're sort of, you can see the red dot there, they're headquartered in Nashville, and they're selling and expanding their business all over the world, a lot of it through the marketplace. 5,000 provisions, and these are somewhat old. This is some old stats, a couple of these. So they've got 6 listings, more to come, and a lot of people have sort of grown an awareness of GeoJob as a great partner and their additional services through their marketplace approach. As I mentioned, we also have Esri distributors. So Esri distributors we have a handful of Esri distributors that actually act as marketplace providers as well. They're building their own solutions. They're creating their own premium content, if you will, for their region. And this is one of our prime ones who's taken the marketplace and really used it as a way to expand outside their geography and reach users all over the world. So we've covered some of the benefits now, but let's dive sort of deep into the details, and I'll highlight some of the newer things that are going on today for marketplace providers. So I mentioned this sort of broader programmatic effort, the sustained effort to sort of improve our processes and have a dedicated marketing team, have a technical resource team, and it happens through this, what they're calling the marketplace program now. So essentially a more scalable, better resource version of what was happening before. So it's really a framework that allows providers to sort of better understand what's possible here, be more successful for the marketplace, learn and adapt, and continue to add value for users and partners. So some of the program benefits I covered. I'm not going to read all this again, but I will highlight some in this, some of the following slides. Integration into our new digital sales strategy, sustained marketing, a team of technical resources within our partner organization that will help you answer questions, figure out how to hone your sort of offerings, and get connected into sector teams that are looking for a solution just like what they were just helping you with. So a lot of dialing in the mechanics and the benefits behind the scenes at Esri to be able to help you be more successful in the marketplace. And I mentioned the social media aspect, so a ton has been happening leading up to the event as this team sort of coming into place. These are just some examples, and it's going to continue to get even better. Another thing, I mentioned this sort of integrated digital experience, we call it at Esri. So the kind of what you could think about is the customer journey, a personalized customer journey for Esri users. We support so many industries, users from all over the world. We have a lot going on our different websites, and there's a large effort that's been underway for the past couple of years to sort of make it more personalized, use kind of modern systems to help users navigate our different websites that include aspects you can see down there, the marketplace as well. And if I go down further on this particular page, you can start to see us highlighting current providers. So what's trending? what do our customers love? And again, this is sort of just the beginning, but you can see this playing out throughout Esri's websites today. You can see it happening in our marketing efforts. You'll begin to see it more and more on our industry pages where, we're talking about government or engineering or commercial business and highlighting different partner apps and add-ins and different capabilities throughout. So let's get into the details here on the types of offerings. So here we see the types of applications, content, add-ins, and now more recently services that our partners or our providers can list on the marketplace. So let's start from the top. So web apps, mobile apps, it's been something that's been, it's been there for a while. It's a common pattern. Different web applications that maybe have a native app component or a configurable application, a mobile application component. Great pattern. That's what our users sort of love, and we want to see more of those types of offerings on there. Another component or a variation of those is a web application with bundled content services within it. So nothing sort of new and revolutionary, but we want to highlight this pattern because it can oftentimes, that we've got so much great content in the Living Atlas, in the geo enrichment services. So you all taking those capabilities and or your own content services, bundling them together within an application that creates the user experience that dials in that user from a sector perspective or a workflow perspective. This capability allows us to, in theory and in reality, have more sophisticated applications at some level. We also offer we offer our providers the ability to list ready-to-use content services. So this could be feature data of various types targeted at the commercial sector. This could be premium imagery. This could be 3D content in the form of scene services. And I have another slide that kind of highlights in more detail there if that's what your partnership is or your organization is focused on. Pro add-ins, custom widgets, so these are targeted towards pro users. This is going to be a bigger emphasis for us because we really want to help our users and our partners migrate what are oftentimes ArcMap add-ins over to pro add-ins. So you'll see a larger push to kind of get our partners and our users kind of helping to fuel that migration over to ArcGIS Pro. And we also offer certain content providers the ability to, what we refer to here as about 2/3 of the way down, custom content requests. So this is the ability for a user to describe their area of interest, send a request to a provider receives that request and is able to provision various content services, 3D services to the user, and they're able to do this on a per user basis. They're actually creating a subscription to that service through the marketplace. Is one of the unique elements of this, beyond just creating a request system, is the ability for a provider to actually, from a business and productization perspective, license it on a per user basis and sell it as a subscription to users, and the marketplace mechanics actually help providers enforce those elements. So 2 new things that were added, we were just announced at EPC, the bottom 2 bullets there, professional services. So many of our partners, if they're building a solution, they oftentimes have a services division, or a large portion of our partner and some of our startups are services-based organizations where they're literally, that's their core business, is delivering professional services. So certain criteria outlined by the partner team is a release-ready status, and you can create professional services listings in the marketplace, receive leads, and you could highlight your services alongside your solutions as well. That's really the pattern we want. Is maybe you're, pointing at a Stone Environmental over here. They do a lot of great services work, but they're thinking about a couple solutions. So having those things next to each other, if you will, in the marketplace for a user to kind of get your expertise alongside that solution that they just bought or tried. And then we have just a new generalized solutions listing that's going to be made available for partners that don't specifically fit into one of these categories. It's sort of a catch-all of aligning and giving something for a partner or a startup a presence on the marketplace while calling something essentially a solution. And we can pause on that if any questions you all have later on as we keep moving through here. So, the ready-to-use content types and bundling options here is sort of the details of the specific types that we offer here. You could see in the second section, there's data services, without applications. You can see the various options we have here, all the way down to city engine rules packages. So we have a handful of partners that are, that do great work building procedural city engine rules packages, and then more and more doing delivering I3S services, and so on. All right, so at this point, I'll turn it over to Doug to talk about some of the process program details and things, and then we'll come back at the very end in the Q&A and list out those products. If any of you have specifics, detailed questions on that, kind of those different product types, we can dive into that. It's probably most interesting to you all in this audience today. All right.
Yeah, thank you, Alan. So Alan talked about all the wonderful things that we're doing in Marketplace, and so I'm going to actually talk about, hey, how can you become a provider and what you need to do, and the process of doing that. So first of all, how many people have listings on Marketplace already? I know you guys do. Okay. And then how many people have a listing in process, or in other words, being approved in the approval process? Okay. And I'm just assuming the rest of you are interested in listing something, right? So here's the process, and I'll kind of go through it quickly because we do provide resources that give you more detail on how to apply. So the first thing is just prepare and apply. So that we have document on the partner portals that kind of gives you a description of your listing and how to list it and things like that. Once you do that, we actually have a review process. And as Alan mentioned earlier, we have a new marketplace team, a new business development team that's really going to help optimize this. And that's why I asked how many people have a product and listing. So sometimes it takes a little while, and it really depends on your listing. But we're going to really optimize and make it much more efficient. So in addition to some of the digital solution things that we did, for customers that look at Marketplace, we also have optimized the back end too. So internally, the process approval and things like that, we're optimizing as well, and developing tools that actually really help optimize that for the internal team. Once you do the review and approve, we have a setup. So we have a participant agreement. We have product information sheet that you'll fill out that you specify what type of listing you're doing, what industry it's in. One thing that's new is that we're covering what we call these geo portals. And so if your content or listing is relevant to a certain region, you can specify that. And when people come, let's say from the Africa geo portal looking for content, we can display content that's relevant to that region or country. One thing new is I mentioned promotions. So we have this new marketplace effort that we're really going to start promoting your guys' listings. And in the past we've done so, but we're going to do even more so this time. So we're going to have things like a promotion plan. We're going to have things like spotlights and the ability to engage with our customer base. And when we send out newsletters and things, we can feature products and things which actually go out to about 5 million ArcGIS users. So some great opportunities there. And so there's a new fee structure too. And with this fee structure, like Platinum and Gold partners, there's no price for listing. It's for unlimited listings. For startups, we do have no annual fee as well, but they can only list up to 10. For everyone else, it's $1,000 a year, but that's for unlimited listings. And again, what you get with that price is the Esri marketing arm that will actually help sell your product, as well as our e-commerce system and other things that really will help benefit you, provisioning and all those other things that we do for you so you don't have to do it. That means subscriptions and everything else. One thing new is our new e-commerce system. So that's going to happen this month. And it's in the past we used Digital River. We're actually doing kind of a home-built Digital River e-commerce system that replaces that. And with that, we're going to charge a 5% commission on that. Previously, it was 20. And so, again, listening to some of the providers, that 20% seemed to be a little steep. And so this 5%, I think, a lot of providers will be happy about. I'm glad you're nodding too. So that's good. Yeah. So here's just some resources, as I mentioned earlier. Partners.esri.com. You can go up to that website and look at some of the campaigns we're doing. These two screenshots showing your application listing. You just go to that and fill out your product information and get ready to roll. Another way to become a provider is actually go to marketplace.arcgis.com. With that, you can select becoming a provider, but I think what's more useful is that we have a lot of help docs to get more into the technical information on how to list, what you can list, and the process to do that. So in addition to the partner portal, go to marketplace.arcgis.com and look at some of our help docs that will help you understand kind of some of our listing questions and things. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to Alan.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so on the Marketplace Becoming a Provider section is deep technical resources where we highlight the different types of products a provider can list and then link into whether it's the developers pages or deep into the details of everything you need to know about the technical aspects of it. So heading into QA, we mentioned come back to this slide. So any specific questions in general or related to specific types of products that providers can list on the marketplace? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if this is a stat you shared or are sharing, but do you have a sense of what percentage of marketplace listings are actually transacting versus just redirecting to solutions that are paid outside there?
So the question was, of the total amount of marketplace providers, which amount or estimate amount are transacting through the marketplace or just redirecting?
Yes.
Okay, that was the question. So, we have nearing 100 marketplace providers listing these different types of offerings. We provide options for our marketplace providers to use our integrated e-commerce solution, or we offer them the ability to transact. And now you mentioned, and Doug covered the new kind of program-free structure. This e-commerce engine, leveraging it from a provider is optional now. You can see we reduced the fee structure. But we do offer marketplace providers the ability to transact via their current methods. Maybe that customer needs to pay or has a requirement to pay via purchase order. So that can happen outside the marketplace mechanics. But we aren't. This marketplace is not designed and actually really doesn't allow just linking off to partner websites in general. I mean, really it has a whole provisioning mechanism where, and we want our users to have a great experience and expect ready to use instant access for those those offerings that are purchased immediately. A short window of accessing anything that's purchased via purchase order, and it's immediately provisioned shortly after. So this idea of ready to use and not sending a request to start a project to get something 6 months later in many instances when it comes to the product side of things.
Yeah, I'll just add to that too, is that previously if you were going to sell products on Marketplace, you had to be e-commerce enabled. Now it's an option. So if you have your own system, you can go that way, but we strongly encourage our new e-commerce system because we offer provisioning and volume discounts and a lot of the things that providers want to do, such as setting subscription to 6 or 3 months, and the price varies based on how long a subscription is, and so you can actually vary your price as well. Just a bunch of other e-commerce things, provisioning and everything else. And so, with the 5% commission that we're asking for, actually doesn't even cover our costs, but there's just a lot of advantages of going with our e-commerce system, even though it's optional for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have a plan that partners can provide solutions or products in combination or products only for ArcGIS Enterprise? Because now it's maybe only possible for solutions or web apps in the combination with ArcGIS Online. But we do have some products that are only working with ArcGIS Enterprise. So maybe there will be an opportunity for partners for a bundle like professional services combined with these products and solutions.
Yeah, so I'll kind of rehash the question. So will we allow providers to be able to list solutions that are more specifically targeted towards ArcGIS Enterprise clients is kind of what I heard. And also, would we allow providers to kind of create a more comprehensive solution that maybe has an online component plus enterprise plus a dev? So I'll tackle the first part. So today, we have a few instances of providers listing capabilities that are leveraged against ArcGIS Enterprise primarily. And then if you look at that bottom category here called solutions, that is really designed to give a more flexible approach for a marketplace provider to outline a more comprehensive solution and still have a presence on the marketplace, gain leads from users, and then approach that business. So, and then we also have the ability for the bundling of items together. So the marketplace is really built on ArcGIS Online items fundamentally. So you could have a listing that encompasses a web app plus a pro add-in plus a mobile component today. So the best option for if you have partners that are interested in this is to sort of get them into the process and into this kind of technical and business review where you would outline of all the different options we have, which ones make sense for the thing that that partner is trying to achieve. So yeah, because we have a lot of configurations. It's really, it could vary between provider, but the options we have can make for some interesting combinations.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there any option to put one of the offerings like ArcGIS toolbox tools?
So the question was, do we offer a toolbox as so this is be a desktop toolbox?
Pro or desktop, yeah, I can for both pro or desktop toolbox tools.
Okay, so can we provide desktop tools? So our pattern for that we would support would be a pro add-in. So it's not really a desktop tool, but say the capability that is in that tool, could it be delivered via a pro add-in? An extension to ArcGIS Pro would be the pattern that we offer on the marketplace. I might not be fully understanding, but I mean, that's kind of what we're thinking about. You want to deliver additional desktop capabilities that are used against Pro or ArcGIS Desktop. The pro add-in pattern would be the one we would recommend.
We have ArcGIS Pro toolbox set of tools which works on this functionality. So is there any way we can deliver those through this marketplace?
Maybe after we finish up, let's chat and we'll try to understand a bit more of the details. I'm by no means a ArcGIS Pro expert, but we can try to get more information from you and understand and see how and if that would fit.
Yeah, if it's not an ArcGIS Pro add-in, in addition to that, it might fit under that solutions bucket, right? Where we could have your listing under that potentially.
Yep. Cool. Anything else?
Yeah. It seems like in the past you've assumed that things you were selling were integrated with ArcGIS Online, and now you're moving away from that assumption for your different providers. Is that
Yeah, so that's a great question. So the question or comment was, we seem to be moving away. The original target of the marketplace as a business channel was primarily at ArcGIS Online users, and that we've gravitated away to support more of the ArcGIS platform, and that is definitely true, and it's been purposeful. How we still approach this is ArcGIS Online, the system of engagement, has identity and it's a repository for content. And so it's literally the mechanism by which we deliver something like a pro add-in or something like a web app.
So a pro add-in is stored as an ArcGIS Online item?
Exactly. And so in that instance, to talk through it is, you're really targeting the pro user, but they're logging in with their credentials into the marketplace because it's built into ArcGIS Online. You as a provider are uploading that item, essentially that add-in, that series of files. You're creating a listing off of that. Users are buying it, and they're getting it delivered through ArcGIS Online, but then they're installing it to work in Pro in that example. Or if you built a web application, you actually are delivering it through ArcGIS Online, and you're actually taking advantage of our licensing as well. So in the manage licenses section of ArcGIS Online, you see things like Business Analyst Online or Collector that have buckets of license. If you have your provider solution and you've taken advantage of that per licensing option we have, your solution or your application, when a user bought it, they bought 5 licenses for a year. They would get a bucket full of 5 licenses and then assign those. Thinking about it as the provisioning, the access, the provisioning, and the licensing mechanism for some of these things that are unique to online, but then sort of use it as the business channel to get to that user, that piece of content, in a sense of like a city engine rules package. I mean, they're not using that in online, but we're using those same mechanics to deliver it to users from providers.
So how do the things like content services come into that? Because they're not stored as items, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they are. Yeah.
they are?
Yeah, so various content services are sort of, for a marketplace provider, we provide, in the content space, we provide the hosted option. So a marketplace provider has an online organization where they're hosting their content. They're creating, those are all items fundamentally. Okay. They bundle them together to create different types of content services. They then create listings off of those and they provision them to users. Users can use those in online. They could use those in Pro. They can use those in an ops dashboard, for example. And those are the kind of the ways that online works with the rest of ArcGIS in the kind of provider sense.
Just to add from the provisioning standpoint is, yeah, you can specify subscription time frame and things like that. But in addition to that, you could use it for trials as well, right? So we have the ability to provision trials, and they expire on a certain date that you can specify. So that's, again, another thing that we build.
Yeah, that's a great thing to bring up. I mean, it's one of the most popular capabilities is offering trials. As a partner, you don't have to build any of that. It's literally built into the marketplace where it provisions whatever you're selling, and then removes access to it after 15 days or 21 days or whatever you indicate for that particular listing.
Could you set up a trial that, if for our potential application, we need to provide custom data for your location. But let's say that the trial is just try it in this thing that we've already set up entirely.
Yeah.
You try it out, you're like, that's awesome, we want it, then we'll talk about
the actual data they want.
setup.
Yeah, so the question was, does our trial mechanisms and mechanics work with some unique kind of setup, and could a provider offer up kind of a demo or a staging environment as an alternative? So the answer is yes to both of those. There's some nuances to our trial mechanism when there's a setup that needs to happen with the user in working with the provider. So that's kind of the nuance where we need to talk into the details of it. Trialing your potential solution might not even be possible unless you set up all the data in some kind of demo environment or sandbox for them to really kind of get an aspect of it. Or, so our trial works great when it's kind of immediately accessing the product or leveraging the content immediately or those kind of aspects. But when there's a setup, then there's kind of these other nuanced things that we need to help you work through to say, yes, trialing works, it provides access to it, but then they need access to your solution, but then it points towards our sandbox environment for them to really take it for a spin to actually try it out. So, yeah.
Other thing to look at too is when a trial expires, we keep the content there too. So you want to make sure that you understand that even though the trial expires and they can't run it anymore, the content that they've generated is still there. We don't delete that.
Or the analysis they generated. Yeah, it's careful. We got to be because if it's content services, we will remove access to the content services, but the user can do a trial, do actual work in lots of instances, and come out with the results of that work and that analysis, and we're not able to sort of, in all instances, remove all access to what they produced during that trial period.
Thanks.
We don't see a lot of abuse of trials, broadly at Esri, but it's something to think about. Cool. Yes?
So by the custom widget, it says from the developer edition?
Correct.
I guess I'm just not familiar. Does that mean it's only custom widgets in the developer edition, or is everything else with us?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's only from custom widgets. built by partners or providers using the developer edition of Web App Builder.
I'll ask about this.
Sorry, yeah, I realized I needed to, yeah, so we have a developer edition of Web App Builder. A lot of partners use that pattern to develop capabilities, workflow elements. So what we provide in the marketplace is a partner to take that, build a widget that deploys capabilities, and you're essentially delivering through the marketplace to that user for them to figure out a way to host that widget and then align it to their systems, essentially. And then what we also provide for pro add-ins and custom widgets is the ability to deliver updates too. So version 2, version 1.4, you can just essentially, if that user keeps paying you, continue to deliver updates to them all through the marketplace and give them current versions. They can store versions and go back to a previous version and things like that. So.
And when a customer buys, say, an add-in for a widget, is there something in the marketplace that says this is how you get started and add this to your pro setup or your existing web apps for a widget?
Yeah.
Or is that sort of on the provider to do that?
That's a great question. So the question or comment was, does the marketplace provide like setup instructions or configuration instructions? I'd say what we do is we provide the business channel. So here you just bought this thing, we've delivered you this thing, now start setting it up is primarily on the provider side. Usually, some type of wizard or documentation resources that you send along with it or a link out to your website with a video or something like that. We don't have the ability to understand how to set your product up. We just give them access to it and take access away if they don't pay.
Yeah, from Esri side, we actually have instructions on how to install a widget too. So you could even point them to our Esri documentation.
Yeah, so some of the mechanics for setting it up, but not or placing it in the right location and where it lands in ArcGIS Online for you to access, but pointing it towards different services and things is on yours. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that comment where if you buy content services, there is a place in ArcGIS Online where a user who's been assigned a license to that will see what we call it subscription content.
Yep.
So there's a place in the user interface for any content services you bought, so users always go to that one location when they're adding data to a map in ArcGIS Online. So there are some things like that, like recurring patterns for how they would access something that they bought. But if it's a custom widget or solution, there's probably custom instructions for how to use it.
Yep, and that's where we kind of count on you all to kind of take over. Cool, great questions.
Any other
sort of comments or questions? Yeah. Dean, of course.
Of course.
So,
of course.
For the new e-commerce, if somebody buys a subscription, and you said they could do less than a 12-month subscription, less than annual, is it always pay in advance? Let's say you do a 3-month subscription, or are there going to be options to pay as you go, like monthly billing that might happen?
Yeah, those are great questions. So questions were around, we're integrating a new e-commerce engine. We've had one for the past couple of years that is not as flexible as we needed. We're integrating a new one. Can a user pay monthly? Can they have alternative paying methods, we'll call it, beyond the annual subscription, which is the most common? And so the answer is some of this is still in development. And the business models are being outlined. The primary scenario is you buy an annual subscription. But I'm like almost certain that there is going to be this concept of a monthly, I can buy this application for 3 months if the provider decides to set it up that way. So our new system has that flexibility. And that was one of the big gaps of our prior system, is not having that kind of scenario. But it's really going to be provider specific, whether they even take advantage of this e-commerce engine. They might just go the take payment offline method. And if they do, would they set up or set those flags for that listing to be able to offer, I don't want to pay your annual fee. I want to this date, and then a dollar figure comes up, for example, that is a 3-month prorated version of their annual subscription is likely what we'll be rolling out, at least initially. The great news about this new system is that it's primarily built in-house, so we can do much more sophisticated things than we were able to do with our past vendor. So just getting started with that. But,
yeah. And we are just getting started with that. So as a provider, you know, if there's something in e-commerce that you need, we have the flexibility to implement that too, right? So, you know, we can make changes and again, version 1.0.
We're
so
taking requirements, we'll say, for future enhancements. So.
And that one came up in talking to a couple providers this week who are expressing interest in doing shorter than 1 year.
Okay, perfect.
Doing billing monthly just as a more palatable way to pay over the course of 12 months.
Yep. Yeah, so there's two components, and in particular, I've heard that from content providers. Good, it's coming up. We'll take an action item to clarify exactly what the scenarios are. There's the biannual scenario, but then I pay monthly. And then the more common request has been, I want to offer this for 3 months only, kind of thing. So both have been factored into this new solution, and we'll make sure we get clarity on the specifics of when and how that'll work.
Do you know anything, maybe you know, about the new hub licensing?
I probably don't know anything about it. No, sorry, go ahead. The new hub licensing?
Well, they're moving to like a per 100 users
Yes.
kind of thing.
Yep.
So it seems like it would be really convenient instead of like calling Esri, say,
Yep.
you know, just go on, click a few times and
Yep.
add 100 users, add 100 users.
So the question was on the ArcGIS Hub pricing changes and productization changes. I work on the ArcGIS Hub as well. So yes, we do. We've rolled out a new pricing, and it is an annual fee. Some of the details are being confirmed, but that part is solidified. An annual fee, discounted for users with enterprise agreements, and as a business partner, the ability to resell the hub. We have a specialty program that grants that partner, like you all, benefits to resell, marketing differentiation, and a nice margin for going out and selling the hub, as well as that discounted pricing scenario, an annual fee-based scenario for users. Oh, yep.
So what's the timeline for rebuilding the marketplace website?
So, yeah. So some of it is already underway. You've seen in some of the slides I showed what's happening on, we have like Esri.com and the ArcGIS.com kind of differences in our website. So the groundwork is already being laid to migrate and create kind of a new user experience that's integrated throughout those Esri.com product pages and industry pages. So that's kind of the first iteration of the project. And then you'll users will experience a new integrated interface. Providers at certain point will probably have to get a different listing process where they'll kind of create a new optimized listing that feeds into that new user experience. And then another aspect that we work on a lot that you'll see, another effort that's been underway for a few years, but the marketplace is it is a website, but it's actually integrated throughout ArcGIS in pretty significant ways. So discovery and access through ArcGIS is going to get more sophisticated throughout 2019 and beyond. So, and some of this is already there. You're in ArcGIS Online, as Dean mentioned. You're searching for content. You're not going to the marketplace. You're actually already in the marketplace, really. You're in Pro. You're searching for content. You're getting recommendations for items that are coming from the marketplace based on your search criteria. So those types of things, there's like a dual effort happening throughout Esri. One team will be focused on promotion, making it better experience for a user throughout Esri.com, and then the other side, that's mostly where we'll be at, which is like this deeper integration, more sophisticated discovery, trial. Imagine searching in Pro and you can easily start a trial of something. So that kind of side of the equation.
Yeah, like the new e-commerce system, we're targeting to have ready for providers by the end of this month. We also try to release with ArcGIS Online, and so we're looking at an update happening March 19th. And so some things that we talked about will be implemented there, specifically professional services and solutions. Mm-hmm. That ability should happen by March 19th. I would just say by the end of this month, to be safer.
Cool. Freddie?
One question. Can you tell us a little bit about the handling from the end user, when I bought something via the ArcGIS Marketplace, how does the licensing handling look like for the customer to buy products? For example, like, is it the same behavior like I handle the other licenses in my user administration?
Yep.
Which one is based like that?
Yeah, so so the question was, or the comments were to describe the user kind of UX, if you will, of a user purchasing things and assigning licenses and the mechanics. How does it fundamentally look like and work on the user side?
How is an administrator on the customer side make those products available for my users in my organization, and how does it work?
Yep. So I'll talk in general, and I'll highlight some of the differences in the different product types we offer. So, at the high level, users come to the marketplace if they have administrative permissions or if they've been granted a unique permission by their online administrator, then they can take action in the marketplace to buy or try or get something for free. Not every ArcGIS user, just like I can't buy things on behalf of Esri, I wish I could at times to, upgrade some of our systems, but Jack doesn't allow me to buy things for Esri, so our users don't allow all their users to buy things on behalf of their organization, so we have these kind of granular permissions where an admin is usually the ability, the first person taking action to kick off a purchase or get something for free oftentimes. So that part happens. Once they've requested or purchased something, it's essentially they get a series of web pages and system notifications that tell them a certain amount of things have been bought. They're ready and available in ArcGIS Online, either in a group. So if it's this particular item or a listing in the marketplace that's been set up to license the whole organization, that particular item or series of items that were shared with them are now available in a group. The administrator makes them available in the group, and then any member of the online organization has access to it. So that's very common in virtually all of these, I'd say. And that is the pattern for a pro add-in or a custom widget. It's provisioned from the provider's online org to the users. The admin's prompted to put it in a group, and ultimately anyone has access to it that's a member of that ArcGIS Online organization at that point. The other, okay, go ahead.
Well, just a clarification about that. Does the provider have to provision a group? Or can you just give it to the single individual who happen to have pushed the button and then let them share it to their organization and all that stuff?
Yeah, so at that type of getting provisioned, either trying it or buying it, the administrator typically is prompted to either share it into a group or create a group to share it into. It really needs to follow that group model when it's the license by organization pattern. I mean, it is the repository, members are added, and then you have access to it fundamentally. The other pattern is the license, the per user licensing. And that follows the similar setup. An admin would buy something. They get a confirmation page, they've just bought 5 licenses and the end date is a certain date. And what's happened is in ArcGIS Online, it's the partners bucket of licenses is now full in that manage licensing section. And essentially those are subscriptions with a quantity of licenses based on what was purchased. And that admin has to assign them to individuals, just like you can't log into Business Analyst Online unless you've been assigned a license to it. Provider products follow that exact same pattern.
We try to have that same custom user experience, with Esri apps versus with Marketplace apps.
So it's very common. It's a familiar experience, and providers just fall right in there. From a provider side, as those subscriptions are running out, you're using a provider console to administer different subscriptions, and/or using our REST APIs to use your own. Our REST API to use your own business systems to manage those subscriptions. So did I answer?
Yeah, so probably just to add something on that.
Yeah.
Would be great to do some kind of demo.
Show video, yeah.
A lot of partners are waiting to, and
Yeah.
the first question when Marketplace went out was, okay, how does the license handling works like, and do I have to implement something other, and la 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 la.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Show up that in a little kind of demo
a series of short videos. Recommendation is to create some short videos to just, because it's a little abstract. It's not super complex, but it is abstract when you're seeing it. It's like, okay, I get it. Yeah, totally agree with you.
At this conference, I saw those happen with Thomas Fair and this new partner.
Yes, yes.
I was in the one session, it was always talking about it, and then I was in another session where the
demo.
and there was something like,
The lights went off. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, we've created some for the partner team in the past. Some have been leveraged, and this is a key aspect of this new team is developing resources to not make this too more mysterious than it needs to be. So. Yeah.
And you'll see from the partner team that we'll have some webinars that actually go through those step by step and demo it. So, and plus you can help us build some too.
Yeah, there you go. Cool. Awesome questions and discussion. So, anything else? Yep.
Do you do any sort of cross-store integration? So let's say you download an app for your phone, but it authenticates that you are licensed to use it through ArcGIS Online.
Exactly. Yep. So the question was, do we do cross-store integration? But then their question was more about the licensing. How does it work for like a native app, for example? Yeah. So the ArcGIS Marketplace handles many of these aspects. So say that I am a provider and I have a web application component of I have kind of an ops dashboard console experience of my solution, but it's also a field mobility solution where the user has bought 10 licenses because the field workers are going to be out there or in the field basically. So what the marketplace does is it provisions access to the web application plus all the licensing needed to where an organization has now bought that solution. They've assigned licenses. Freddie is out in the field working. He's downloaded the native app from that store, Google Play, iTunes. When he logs in, his login will work essentially if he's been assigned that license in ArcGIS Online, essentially. Very much like Collector. If you haven't been assigned your license in Collector, your login's not going to work. You can download the native app, but it's not going to work, essentially. You're not going to be able to log in. Providers fit exactly into that same pattern. This is probably a great example of how we need a demo of this, Cool. Yeah, in the back.
Bundled data services.
Mm-hmm.
In the process of putting together a web app template.
Great.
So I'm going to have multiple bundles of enhanced layers that the user will be able to choose from, purchase the bundle with the app. Is the structure flexible enough to that, I can bundle 1-to-1 ratio with the template to the app, or where they can essentially just, okay, there's the app, and bundled with, say, 3 different data packages.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a few aspects. So the question was, you're a content provider or a data provider at some level. And an app provider. You're building a web application that's going to be populated or include premium layers of different types. And how does that mechanically work and what's possible in the marketplace? So let me try to, I might call on Dean to help. So we have, as a marketplace provider, you can create a listing that includes many items. So that could be your web application, your web app template, we'll call it, populated with many different data layers, we'll call it. And those can be hosted in your provider online organization, or they could be proxied from an enterprise into that provider online organization in order to create these listings. So this is kind of the backbone and how it works. You had another layer of your question, which was, how do I provide the user to select what layers they want?
Yeah, essentially, what I'm hoping to do is bundle, okay, here's your bundle of fire layers, here's your bundle of landslide layers, here's your bundle of
yes. Okay.
And choose, you've chosen the web app, that's great. Now, what's most pertinent to your area?
Yeah.
As an end user.
So I'd have to learn, the devil is in, I think there's a little devil in the details this one, but I think what I understand so far is you would have two options. You could create one listing in the marketplace, and you essentially are getting requests from users and you're populating that data and delivering that. I think more so what I would hear is you could have a couple versions, industry-focused versions that are the same web app template, but different sets of layers for those different domains or industries. So you could maybe have four listings, I'm just making this up, but that's probably the better pattern based on what I heard, because then you're setting up each of those listings with unique layers. You take advantage of the instant access kind of provisioning, and the user is just looking at your 4 different listings based on their industry persona and the workflow needs they have. So, yep. Yep.
On that topic, I heard the other day at lunch that you can provision, let's say you have a hosted data set, and so you want the value of a single listing for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yep.
You know, if you sell services to local governments, so we have 500 customers in the U.S., we want to make a single listing. We don't want to make 500 listings.
Yeah. Yep.
We don't want to pre-list for customers.
Yeah.
So we have a single listing, but then when I believe what we could do is City of Palm Springs requests that item, then when we provision it, we can create a view of that item and provision the data set filtered down to Palm Springs, which is, they're only buying the Palm Springs weather data or the Palm Springs, whatever our data is. In our case, it's 311 stuff. But your data set, you can provision a specific view after it's been requested. Right?
Yes, exactly.
So that's kind of conceptually what I just wrapped my head around and what I think we're heading in a direction for.
Okay, yeah, so your questions were like, you have we'll just describe a US data set, but users don't need the whole US. They want their area of interest scenario, and how do you set that out without creating 100 listings? So we have a few options. You highlighted one of them, which was that you could have one data set hosted, and when you receive a request from a user, you could create a view, or you could create a slice of that and provision that slice of data to that user. And then now that you've created that relationship with that user, you can actually provision updated or additional items to that user if they keep paying you. So that's one of the unique additional elements we offer, is the ability to provide updates. They've bought Palm Springs weather data, and you have your new version, you can continue to provide those. So I think talking into the details a little bit more to make sure that works for you all, like, I would, in this sort of technical and business review, could you as an organization manage 100 requests from all over the nation? Those are some of the details behind that type of model that you would want to consider as well. What can you be your service level to support that? How does that work within how your sales teams or your business operations team work internally, factoring in that kind of request model aspect if it was to get widely popular? You mentioned views. So that is we don't have a provider today doing that. It is an option on ArcGIS Online and a popular one. So we want to, that particular aspect, since I don't think it's ever been fully tested, it should work in the marketplace, but we want to make sure that we dive into that one with you specifically, since to my knowledge, I don't think we have it. And it's come up, and our dev lead of online has recommended that as a pattern, but we want to work with you to understand and make sure that that works for what you need.
Yeah, on our roadmap, we were looking at something similar to that, like area of interest on demand kind of thing, so we can help automate that. A customer specifies Palm Springs weather data, and rather than you having to respond back to them and provision it, we're looking at perhaps an automation process.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I was thinking for us it would be easier to just publish our data set up in one process.
Yep.
It's going to be a hosted feature service. So rather than every time someone requests it, I've got to go manually ETL their data up, customer by customer. I'd rather just ETL it all up, and then when someone requests it, I'm provisioning a slice. So the manual task of just creating a new item,
Yep.
a view, is trivial. I mean, you know, we're going to sell maybe 50 of these a year. It's just, that's 50 one-time
Yep.
create a view.
Yep.
But I don't want to every single time have to be like, all right, now wait for us to,
Yeah.
I've got to turn on your ETL to get to publish your data.
Yeah. And we would, are you with Weather WDT?
What's that?
Are you with WDT? Or what
What
organization are you with?
See, click, fix.
Oh, okay. So,
So we have a service already. We're actually we're featured in Andrew Stouffer's release ready content.
okay.
We're running a proof app in production, so
Okay.
which is great.
Yeah.
But for a next generation of that, you know, the marketplace and you know, hosted feature service seems like where we want to go.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
to take advantage of the marketplace in exactly this thing.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I think, you know, for us, we would love to learn about what you're trying to do, because in particular, these kind of like making content providers successful with these unique areas is something we would love to like learn more and make sure we're sort of, you know, supporting the right scenarios. We think we have a lot covered, but some of these details, we'd love to kind of work more collaborative with you on it to understand a bit more.
The Waze data set was kind of an interesting example that we were looking at. It's like, okay, it's similar to that, where, you know, it's a large data set published, but agencies request access to their
Yeah.
Waze data.
They don't want the whole US,
The
yeah.
whole US,
Yep.
whether they want it and
Yep.
they don't want to give it. So that's kind of a similar model.
Yep. Great. Sounds good. All right. Any other questions or comments? We can hang
Yeah, and you
around
have
a
our
bit.
contact info, so if there's
Yep.
other questions later on, we're here. We're here for you.
Yeah. There's a survey I'm supposed to tell.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for coming on a Friday, last day of the event. It's been a fun one. So cool. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.